Hey Skyfarers, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords channel and podcast, where today we're talking all about KO lists with the new book. Joining me for tonight's show is our ever-present thunderer from Down Under, Mr. Alexander Cron. Hi, Cron.
Good start.
And our Dwarden Prime, Mr. Max Bowman.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
And apologies for the delay, everyone. We were just adding very quickly one extra list to make the show even better. So, yeah, even though Max sent it to me 3 hours ago, which I'm mentioning quickly because if not, he will mention it at some point. Yeah, so it's been a while since we did a review. We've had some time to play some games and crack the book open and get past all the initial hot takes and then actually put some lists together that have games behind them and not so, I don't know, reactionary. So it's been cool. Guys, what is your initial sort of impression on list writing with the book now that you've had some more time of it?
Alex, you want to go first?
The list of writing, it is you kind of pretty early, I think, find what you want, what you're expecting the list to do, and then you I feel a lot of options kind of choose them when you have you'll either you still pick your skyport at the start, and then you choose to go into the Gnar, and then if you're going Gnar, you go, okay, so I'm taking Brokk and Riggers and Thunders, or you go Mhornar, and you kind of lean into the into frigates more, as it were. I'm not sure.
Just sounds like it, right?
Yeah, it sounds like. Okay.
For me, it's different. You tend to find power pairs or synergies that you like and put in your list, and then I start looking around. Okay, what else can I put? What can I combine? And the last thing I'm looking at is, okay, what skyport do I need, and what command trait do I need to make this work, or maybe what hero. So I appreciate the liberty we have with this book, that you can adapt and make it work in different skyports. For example, you want 15 Thunderers, you can go any skyport with that command trait. Or you want some double reinforced endrinriggers, you just need to include a engine master in your list. So that's pretty cool. But I tend to come back to Barak Zon, which is good because before it was shit. But it's we'll talk about why I keep coming back to Barak Zon. It's not because of the subfaction ability you get.
Okay. It seems like we're all three of us taking different approaches then. Although I think mine is similar to yours, Max. So I'm kind of feel like I've reached a point where I'm looking at, okay, I want to have a mixture of these types of units, so not all Thunderers, not all Riggers, and I want to have a bit of a balance. And then I want to make sure I use my troop capacity in an efficient way, so I don't have space for like 30 models and only put 6 in ships, because that doesn't make sense because you pay for that capacity. And then I work out what configurations I want and then kind of go from there. So if I want more Riggers than Thunderers, or if I want lots of Thunderers, then I'm more likely to go for Gnar or X-Quan stock. But I've been finding generally the command traits are one of the things I'm sort of you can't duplicate a lot of the effects they do elsewhere. So they're kind of one of the things I consider quite a bit, because there's a lot of good ones, and you can't get multiple command traits. So
Yeah, that's
It's an
a
important
shame.
choice.
yeah,
I'd love to have a second command trait, which is
Yeah.
a good sign. It shows that there's, if you're undecided which one to pick, or if there's I want this unit or I want that subfaction or that article or that amendment, but I also want the other one. It actually shows that it's a well written book.
Mhm.
Because
Not
otherwise,
just-
there's just one good option and the rest is shit. So you're
Yeah.
always gonna
Yeah.
pick that one,
A lot of books
which
have
is exciting. You know?
the one option that's the only option, and then you have have +1 attack or something, or +1 bravery kind of. We have
I'd
like
say a lot of the older books have that. The new ones tend to be more interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got some sample lists we're going to look at. We should probably give out some shout outs for some of the lists we're not looking at, which so because Kron, you've already been to a tournament,
we've
so
had
we
one
do have
event with the new book. Yeah.
so we do
Um,
have the list you used, but 3 KO lists went 4-1 at that event. So
Coming 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 5th.
So we only have your list from the event because some of the others are sort of similar to. We try to go for list archetypes in a sort of some of them, and then some. Yeah, I don't know. We just pick some lists, but with reasons. But so if people want to go look at those lists, where can they go, Kron?
They're on Stats and Ladders, which is the Australian kind of Best Coast pairings. It's free to sign up, and you can already look. You don't have to subscribe to look at the lists, I believe.
Cool.
That's Stats.
Great. So Stats and Ladders. Unfortunately, I have not prepared a link, but I will add a link once after the show at some point. Cool. So let's start looking at some lists, and then that will sort of generate the conversation, I feel. So first list, we have a Barak Zon list because I wanted to show, in case anyone is sitting there going, well, I just want to play all balloons, and Barak Zon looks fun because Barak Zon does have a powerful ability. Yeah, this is just sort of an archetypal all balloons list. Of course, it's not all balloons. There are some boats and some heroes and things. So, disclaimer, I guess we should say that if you want to go down a balloon heavy list, you don't have to go Barak Zon. You could do it in Barak slightly differently. But Barak Zon is a good way of going balloon heavy. But would you guys say balloons work well in every Skyport?
They work well. Maybe they work least well in Thryng because they don't gain anything from Barak Thryng.
Okay, that's
well,
fair.
but they're pretty good in pretty much all the other Skyports. Nah has special abilities. You take Brokk. You have Zon with Sky Wardens. Mhornar, they get stuck in and they turn off command abilities. Yeah, balloons are
okay.
Still think you can go one drop with multiple boats.
Yeah. So this one is 2 drops. I kind of intentionally made it 2 drops because we're gonna have some higher drop lists later on. So it has an admiral as general, which is kind of a common theme.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've written a list without an admiral as my general yet.
I think the book very much incentivizes you it wants you to have an admiral as general, which is why a lot of these other abilities that unlock troops or Stormcaller and all that still work as intended if you have an admiral as your general.
Yeah, I'd say there's no incentive to take one of the other heroes as general.
Yes, fine.
And with the Admiral, you just gain the flagship ability, which is very powerful. It's an extra
Yeah.
command point each turn.
It's kind of almost like having 2 command traits because you
Yeah.
get you get that ability if he's your general. So
Yeah,
um,
it's super good to have that extra command point.
It's narrative to have your admiral as a general. It's good. That
Yeah, it's a narrative choice. That's why we use it.
Yeah. Well, it makes more sense than you have. You got your 2 admirals walking up, and then this one comes like, right, guys, on me.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so in this list, the admiral has Celestial Burst Grenade, and his command trait is Stormcaller. One of the benefits I think of Zon is that you're not so incentivized to take a different command trait. So you because you're already unlocking a battle line, you're less incentivized to take X gun stock, for instance.
Yeah, and also your benefit is melee based. So why would you invest heavily in shooting units?
Yeah.
In fighters, basically. Yeah.
As a navigator, because I think almost every KO list has a navigator now.
Not everyone.
Yes, a lot.
Many do, but not everyone has.
Yes, it's very. I think if you're trying to get low drops, then you need certain other heroes. But because navigate's very good, and then a code write just to get extra CP and to change the footnote once per game. Well, in theory, multiple times per game, but really you want to do it at least once because you want to either start without our ships 3 or naught and then change to the 3d6 charge, or start with the 3d6 charge and go the other way. 2 units of Arcanauts for screens. You don't necessarily need 2 units of Arcanauts for screens, but it's kind of helpful to have them. A unit of 9 Sky Wardens, a unit of 6 Sky Wardens, and a unit of 6 endrinriggers, all with melee weapons. A frigate and another frigate with the Omniscope. The first frigate without the Omniscope is the flagship, and then a battle regiment.
And 2 drops.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a battle regiment if you wanted to, get an extra artifact of power or something. So basically what this list does is it uses the capacity of the ships efficiently, because you could very easily just write a list that has 3 frigates and 3 units of 6 Sky Wardens or 3 units of 6 endrinriggers, but you're wasting half your capacity and you're paying points for that capacity. So
but you're gaining free engagement points. So you can attack on 3 fronts, whereas with 2 boats you can only attack or engage on 2 fronts.
Yeah. So basically, in this list, the unit of 9 Sky Wardens and the heroes will go in 1 boat, and which would be the flagship, and then the 2 units of 6 will go in the other boat. So the other boat can move faster because it has the Omniscope, and because the other one is the flagship, then you can buff it in other ways with your admiral to increase its movement if you want to. It's a list. I mean, there's other ways to go all balloon boys or mostly balloon boys, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about doing that, going heavy balloons and not taking any thunderers or anything?
What is your article?
Master of the Skies.
Oh,
Must move for everyone.
The extra movement.
And what's the grand strategy then?
It's under. Oh, yeah.
The grand strategy. I haven't put the grand strategies on any of these lists, but it would probably. I mean, I don't know if they are essential for the way that this works.
No, because I got confused. I thought it was rule disguise, master disguise was the grand strat. So you're going for extra move on the ships. Okay, interesting. With that many balloons, because
I mean,
balloons are glass cannons. Let's be honest. Even inside the ships, if someone looks at them, they're probably going to die.
Yeah.
Often with the -1 to hit, +1 save, there's like 1 or 2 surviving. So having a
Mhm.
4-up rally, it would be super cool.
Yes. There's pros and cons for this because the extra movement means you can just be further away, and then when you want to engage, you can.
Yeah, although against some lists, you're limited about being away because of the length of the board.
Yeah.
Just you cannot be further away physically.
Yeah.
So often, or
Yeah.
or how far they can project power. Sometimes it's a bit difficult. But yeah, it's a very cool thing. Has anyone ever killed anything with the Battletome from the Code Right yet?
Probably not. I haven't
No.
actually used the code right yet, so
I usually
because I've been
end up
focusing mostly on Nihilus.
I usually just end up like rolling the code rat and the navigator at the same time. Just go, here's 3 attacks. Nah, doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Or maybe 1 wound. In this specific list, I might actually run the 6 Sky Wardens as an understrength 5-man unit just to fit a hero in the other boat. Otherwise, the boats are going to
Okay.
pretty much have to act as one solid threat to go in. Otherwise, the other boat doesn't get any all-out attack or any.
I'm not sure you
Are
can.
Are you
actually do
still
that
allowed
anymore.
to do? I think
you
with
can
third edition
only.
they stopped that.
I think
I
you
think
can
you'd have to
only
use
do it if you
one.
literally don't have the heroes. I mean, if you don't have the models, you'd have to literally then.
Yeah, but
Oh, I
you
forgot
bought
one.
the ones.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much like no, you
I
can't.
think
No, I don't
I
think
think there
that's
was
a valid option anymore. It used to
you're
be.
allowed to have
but-
one. Are you allowed to have one unit that's under strength still?
We'll find
Because
out.
you kept
but I
abusing it,
doubt
Cron, so they clamped down on it.
That was like
Um,
2 editions ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty
Fairly
sure
sure.
in match play it's not allowed.
Yeah.
There's a section in match play that says no, you cannot have under
Right.
strength units.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean this is a pretty straightforward list. Either you move your ships farther up with the navigator, or you
Mhm.
stop the enemy, so you control movement.
Mhm.
You're gonna hit very hard with all these units. Especially, I'm looking forward to seeing the Sky Pike of the Arcanauts hitting 3 attacks on 2s and 2s, 1 rend 2 damage.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
guy's got really good. Like 3 attacks, freeze 1 rend 2 damage. Usually,
Yeah,
I,
but
I
for
killed
some
the Doom
reason,
with that guy the other day. So good. No one expected. And what's his name? A Colonel Hunter.
I've had
So
the opposite. That guy still doesn't do anything. For some reason,
because he gets
the
plus
dice
1 to
just-
hit if he's on the objective against the unit that's contesting. So already he's
Yeah.
2s
2s
and
and
3s.
3s. Neg 1
So good.
still manages to roll nothing but 1s and 2s.
No. That's usually
Just on that guy.
my the Sky Hook. That's usually wounding on 2s. Yeah, here's a 1.
Yeah.
That's cool.
My Arcanauts
No,
so
I mean
far
there's it's
have
awesome.
not rolled a single attack or a single save roll. They have literally sat as a screen, and then I've gone flying off elsewhere and left them behind.
Yeah, usually. I mean,
yeah,
they are good. If you can change the amendment with the code right for them to count as 2, they can do some
Yeah.
decent. Because
Mhm.
yeah, they can steal objectives. Run auto run 6, count as 2.
Yeah.
They're pretty handy.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine this is a very straightforward list. You have
Yeah,
2
there's not much
ships,
to it.
so you have 2 threats. You go in and you smack hard.
Yeah, basically.
But if someone
off their
catches
screen.
your ship, if someone catches your ship,
This is probably the closest KO gets to a Timmy list, unless or maybe the battle ram as well.
Yeah.
but,
yeah.
Using
Yeah.
Vince's
go forwards and charge.
psychological
Mhm.
profiles.
Okay. If you guys were going for all balloons, would you go Barak Zon or would you go elsewhere? Maybe like with Brokk.
I personally would go Nar with Brokk
Mhm.
because Brokk has a bigger balloon, so he counts as more. He makes the balloon more balloony. The balloon list, a higher grade balloon list. No, because getting an extra attack will benefit them usually slightly more than +1 hit, +1 to wound.
Mhm.
And you do not need to work around the whole. I need to place all these models wholly within 3 inches of my boat to get strike first, and there's some workarounds there.
Yeah,
You won't need a
cover them in a
code
bit.
either.
And you don't need a code red. No.
Yeah. So we have a question from the chat, which is: so when you have a code right, is it a good thing to start with always take what you are owed and change it later when the Argonauts are dead?
The thing I found with the code right is usually I'd start with the thing I need most or I want, which is essential to my tactic, because he can fail. He can die first turn, so you cannot change, or he could roll a 1 on his heroic action, and especially with the amendment, he needs to roll a 4 up. So you could have 3 turns where he doesn't get it to change it, and then you're stuck with Arcanauts counting as 2, but after the second turn they're dead, so you have a useless amendment. So I'd rather start with the 2d6 run.
2d6 run is...
what I need in this case, you want the without our ships we're not, so the 2 command.
Do you need
the 2
that
commands. But
Zon?
do you need this in this list? Yeah, I'd say.
It
Don't
could
you
be
want
the
no,
3d6 charge.
No reward without risk. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
actually say you want to start with that, and then
Because
once
without
you
it-
use it, you could change.
I'm just going to make a disclaimer now before because it's going to keep coming up. But I just get all of these articles, amendments, and footnotes mixed up. In my head, I just like the 3d6 charge one, the 4+ rider. When it comes to the names, no idea. You tell me what the names of these things are. No, I don't. No, I just know what they do, and then I think I know in my head which one I want, and then when it comes to no. Especially since half of them had were things before that did other things, like they've recycled the names. Also, it really frustrates me that I don't know if it's does it in the app, but in War Scroll Builder, the amendments are before the articles.
Yes.
Yeah.
That frustrates me so
much. The app
much.
does that also, I think.
But yeah, I think personally I would actually go Gnar as well with Brokk, and if I wanted to go all balloons, but we didn't have a Barak Zon list, and I felt we should
balloons
have
you get more balloons if you don't have Brokk, so that's almost 6 more endrinriggers.
Yeah.
So
But in Barak Gnar, you can't, unless you take an Endrin Master as well, you won't be able to have a unit of 9 balloons.
More on that later.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on because we've gone oops, all balloons. Now let's talk about oops, all thunderers. So, Cron, this is your list from the tournament.
This is what I'm here for.
Yes.
Yeah. 30 thunderers. Deploy, delete. Easy.
Deploy and destroy 4.62. I think that's what we're up to.
So in this event specifically ruled Tuskhelm and Battle Ram activating together. That's why I have that.
The 3d6 charge.
Tuskhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would probably take a Voidstone Orb or a Arcane Tome on the Admiral or the Navigator. Yeah, so it's Barak Mhornar because I felt I could achieve what Barak Gnar does with the Codewrite and the X Gunstock command trait, as well as with X Gunstock and the flagship on the only boat I have, the Ironclad. You never hurting for command points. You get 2 free commands a turn, plus possibly 1 extra, and then you've got your hero action. I felt Gnar was superfluous. Like it did too many command points, so you just go with Mhornar because it's got the I feel the most generically useful ability. If you're not going for an all balloon or a specific or a specific Thryng build, just turn off their command points. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, you you turn off their all-out defense or their inspired presence, and their units just evaporate. Yeah. So going through it specifically for podcast
Yeah,
listeners?
for the podcast people,
Um,
we'll just say everything that's in it quickly.
Alright, we've got an Archanaut Admiral with X gun stock, Celestion Burst Grenade, Leadership of the Alpha, a second Admiral with Tuskhelm, a Navigator, a Code Write, and 2 Chemists, one with a spell in the bottle. 10 Arcanauts, 15 Thunderers with all special weapons, 15 more Thunderers with all special weapons, and they're all in Sharpshooters, and then an Ironclad with the Great Volley Cannon and Battle Ram.
And the Soul Screen
and the
Bridge.
Soul Screen Bridge.
And the Soul Screen Bridge, yes,
Which
that's
is very
not an important part here.
Yes.
So the Ironclad has all 6 heroes in it, and 15 Thunderers teleports forwards with Fly High, and then without our ships Zui and Nord can then combat drop the 15 Thunderers, while the other 15 Thunderers come in via the Soul Screen Bridge. Both of them are given, so you've got 2 Admirals and 2 Chemists, so both can get +2 rend, and then you just shoot forward.
So the important thing is you need to fly high your Ironclad to near to where your bridge goes to, so that you can get the guys out wholly within 3, but so that those heroes are the other unit of Thunderers are wholly within 12 of a Chemist and a Admiral.
Yeah.
So you can give them +2 rend. So basically, you have 30 Thunderers with +2 rend.
Positioning is important. I like forward thinking when you're deploying these things to make sure everything's can fit in the auras of these heroes. But yeah, then the results speak for themselves. They did pretty
I have a
well.
question.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this list just be better in Urbaz when you get a +1 to wound from Settler Grudges and I think Honor is everything for 4-up rally on all these Thunders? I mean, that's 30 Thunders with 2 wounds. If you get 4-up rallies, that's just so good. So you last a bit longer. Yeah, you lose the 5-up. You don't get a command point. But my problem with that is only within 12, and it's only the issuing unit. So if they have a hero behind enemy lines and he's going to issue the commands, you probably have no effect with that subfaction rule. That's my personal opinion on it. I don't know. Maybe you say, oh, but it rolled 100 times. It went well. No defense. No nothing. No inspiring presence, and so on.
I mean, it's fun when it happens. But actually, throughout the event, I found that it was pretty much the experienced players were able to play around it pretty effectively, just have their little supporting heroes outside of 12. And for the inexperienced players, we don't really need it. It was just like a second source of NPE that made the games less fun. So possibly...
Sounds great.
Possibly Urbaz, get a 4-up rally. And we can be Gits too.
Yeah. No, because with that many Thunders, it's just good. It's really good.
You notice the difference of that 3-up save. They're so tough.
Yep.
Like the difference between a 4-up all-out defense to a 3-up, and then 3-up all-out defense to a 2-up is wow.
Yeah.
These things
with
stick
a
around.
-1 to hit from suppressing fire, maybe additional -1 to hit from the fumigator from the chemist. Because I learned the Thunderer fumigator doesn't do that anymore.
No.
I just realised every game I've forgotten suppressing fire. It's like my first game I forgot it.
Dude, someone charges you. You only shell, they're -1 to hit against.
Yeah.
I had 10 of them. 30 beast gore, bestie gore, I don't know what they're called, with 1,000 attacks hit them, but then they only hit on 3s instead of 2s. And I didn't all out defense because otherwise they get an extra attack because of their stupid rule. And I think like 4 survived. 4 Thunderers, it's just so good.
Yeah.
And then you retreat and then rally.
Yeah.
No, you just shoot them all off and rally next turn. Don't give no ground.
What you do is you embark into a boat.
No,
you can't. You can't actually embark into a boat while you're in combat. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. One thing about this list that if I was doing the 30 Thunderers thing, I would go in Gnar, because then that would allow you to take a different command trait. As particularly if I was going like the same route you've gone down with Tuskhelm and stuff, and I would take Scholar and an Arcanaut, because then what you can do is you can. The difference between Scholar and Arcanaut and having a code right is Scholar and Arcanaut means you have all that question about which footnote do you start with goes out the window, because you just have 2 footnotes.
The 2 good
and
ones.
that means in the same turn you can do the fly high and combat landing combo and the 3d6 charge in the same turn.
Yeah.
The thing is 3d6 charge is 9-inch charge even with a 3d6 is not that reliable.
Oh,
But
a 9-inch charge with 36 with a reroll, and the
Yeah.
average on 36 is 10.
yeah, I've already
10 and
found
a
it.
half.
Trust me, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not. You think it is, and plus also you shoot all the stuff that's close, so then they take the models away, and yeah.
Usually you make it with a
But-
reroll.
Yeah.
In
yeah.
Gnar, you could, if I was taking Gnar, I'd probably switch out the Code Rat for an Endrin Master, give the boat a little bit of a healing, because at that point the Code Rat is totally useless.
Yeah.
What I also would maybe leadership of the alpha is great because everyone gets all attack. But if you want to go more flexible and apply pressure from 2 points, you might opt for a Tunnel Master on one of the chemists. So the one unit that bridges over here at least gets a chemist over there, and then the other ones have the boat and chemist and admiral. And then you have only one Ren, but still, it offers you options.
I use Leadership of the Alpha. It's not just like the everything gets all out attack, but it's like you can do the if they're coming at you, you retreat the Thunderers, put them in a boat, then retreat the boat, kind of thing. You just
or you could
disappear.
if you were in Urbaz, you could do rally both units.
Yeah.
Oof.
Which is also fun.
Yeah. I mean, I tried a similar list to this using the bridge. I only had 1 unit of Thunderers, but I did find that having to have your Ironclad go near to where the bridge is was a bit restrictive. And you basically have 1 threat. Even though you've got 2 threatening units, you have 1 threat. You can go to 1 place on the board.
Yeah, your 3 threats, the Ironclad and the Thunderers are all 1 threat.
Yeah.
They are 1 threat, but it is like a game-ending threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. It's like the sun, but you don't need the sun.
Yeah.
It's just you get the rent.
This is just a second edition list. It's the first edition list that's pertaining to be a second edition list that's pertaining to a third edition list. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Also, sharpshooters. Yeah, that's always good.
One thing we should mention about this that you mentioned previous in one of our chats, Con, was that you just basically you went forward, you deployed, and then actually the hit back, the Thunderers were pretty much most of the time able to survive it.
They
which
can
is key
survive
because
pretty much 1 turn against everything, I think. Double turn, that's when they die.
Because I think as KO players, if you've played in the previous book, you're not used to surviving opponents' turns, and it's like the tendency is you want to play keep away, but actually with this list you don't need to because they are fairly
I mean, you could with a last word Ironclad, but it was risky.
Yeah. Cool. So let's move on. So they are the 2 skew lists, and we're going to move on to some more balanced lists. Because I mean, would you both agree that after trying out some skew things, more balanced things sort of appeal?
It depends what you're playing. If you're playing a team event, skew lists are very common because they have one purpose, they have one role that they need to fulfill. I want to take first turn and blow out all your heroes or 2 threats, and that wins me the game against certain armies. So you might see that more often, whereas in single tournaments, I think you should definitely go for a more balanced approach.
Because you'll find that matchup that doesn't that is just immune to shooting, and suddenly your 30 Thunderers That
Yeah, you're gonna find those eels, and then
Mhm. Yeah, because
you need to beat an eel. You need to play like an eel.
well, you can definitely do that. Basically,
Yeah,
second
exactly.
edition eels. But yeah, and the balloons are relatively fragile, so
Yeah.
you want to have something that can be a bit more survivable. So Kron, this is your list again, is it?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think this is the third iteration of of a list. Basically, the first iteration was the 30 Thunderers.
Mhm.
Then I after the event was like, all right, so I think I need some combat. Got basically changed 15 Thunderers into into a frigate with 9 riggers. Went to Barak Zon, got Brokk, and tried that out a couple times. But now I'm thinking that I probably want that 3 threats again. So you got, instead of just having like 15 Thunderers and then 1 boat full of riggers, it's split those riggers into 2 sets with 2 frigates. Have them just be 6, and I don't think I need I got a bit disappointed with Brokk and what he was doing. I don't know. I don't think you need that many attacks from the riggers to accomplish what you need. And when Brokk gets in combat, he's really shit. I don't like the D3 damage. He just whiffs. He's just like 5 attacks, 3s, 2s. Oh, it's like 5 damage. Cool.
And then 2 plus D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Within 3 inches, which is super good.
Okay, I was like 50-50 forgetting that part, but
Kron, have I made a mistake with this
Mustache
list?
guns. Come on.
Yeah, Kron, does this list have Celestian Burst Grenade? Because you've got 2 battle regiments, and I don't know if I've made a mistake.
Only
Okay,
spell in the bottle.
cool. Yeah.
Also, I thought with Arcanauts in this thing. Hang on, let me check. Yeah. Yeah, I also have.
I don't know. There's just so many lists going back and forth in the chat. I was like, am I looking at the right list when I'm writing this out? Should there be some Arcanauts?
Yeah, there's 10
Arcanauts. You need
well.
another troop, otherwise you cannot do 2 battle regiments.
Yeah, that too. There's 10 Arcanauts in here.
Oh, okay. That makes the list better as well, because if not, there's no screens.
No, you need some kind of screen. There's still armies that can reach out and hit your boats, even if you're in the furthest corner of the board.
Yep.
Just to answer the chat, Colin, I did not forget. It helped to kill your Dryads when Brokk went in. I actually remembered it, but I forgot in the games before.
Yeah.
So in this list, Quan, I guess you're doing the similar thing as you're using the Soul Screen Bridge to bridge the Thunderers.
Yeah.
We should probably mention with the Soul Screen Bridge, there's been a lot of discussion with people about whether you can bridge a boat and then get the guys out of the boat and stuff. I find that I'm not really incentivized to bridge a boat anyway. I find it seems more incentivized to use the bridge to substitute as a boat, so you don't spend the points on a boat. You just have a free Soul Screen Bridge to get a unit where it needs to go.
Our events
Does that make sense?
Ruled it as you can't, as that was not legal, because it says if the boat has remained stationary, and it doesn't say moved, which is a technical term. It says remain stationary, which is a a legally vague term that doesn't actually have a reference in the book. But what is teleporting 24 inches across the board remaining stationary? Really?
But anyway, it's like, do you? I don't feel like there's much gained from bridging a boat anyway. I feel like it's better just to not save the points on a boat and then just bridge a unit. And that seems like that's what you're doing as well a lot of the time. So yeah, anything else to add about this list?
I mean, I like the 3 threats.
Yeah.
Being able to engage on 3 fronts kind of thing, and it has still like a lot of shooting. I like Rigger's shooting. I like Ren 2 shooting base. And then coming out of the frigates, like they will delete units in shooting and then hit the other units in combat. Like this does a ton of damage still, without needing 30 Thunderers. And I guess the other thing that we kind of figured from the event, this was both me and Nathan, was kind of thinking the Ironclad isn't worth the points so much. This didn't really pull its weight as much. So we've pretty much very hard gone into, okay, frigates. They do, they're 200 points cheaper, and they put out a lot of, like, they have pretty much the transport that you need, unless you're actually going for 30 Thunderers. And they have the same. They're quicker. They have similar firepower. And 15 wounds and a 3-up save. They're tough as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
especially with endrinriggers nearby. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Riggers,
I mean-
yes, the practically immune to shooting. They shoot you, you go, okay, end of your shooting phase, I heal.
Yeah, I had to admit that the first list I wrote, I went with an Ironclad, and then the second list was like after playing that straight away. Okay, now I'll play one with a frigate. Yeah, I think there will be lists where you can use an Ironclad, but often I think a frigate or 2 frigates is better.
If you're trying to transport 30 Thunderers, you need the Ironclad because the frigate just doesn't have the transport capacity.
Well, you 15, not 30.
Well, yeah. If you have 15 Thunderers, you use a bridge. If you have 30 Thunderers, you'll need the Ironclad to get both of them over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I find the capacity on the Ironclad is like its main benefit, but also a little bit restrictive. If it was just slightly more, like if it was 24, it would make it a bit better. Like often you're like, okay, I've got these units I want to put in it. There's only space for 2 heroes. Do you know what I mean?
I never got to that point.
No.
Because I don't want to stick that many people in one boat.
Yeah.
That's like your entire army at that point.
Well, I just, but
you can stick 15 Thunderers and all 6 of your heroes in a boat if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's
just
fine.
Can't stick
22
2 units in your Ironclad and all your heroes in it.
Okay, so let's move on then to another more balanced list. So, is this yours, Max?
Yes, this is mine. So this is the 3rd or 4th iteration of this list. So we're playing Barak Zon, Settle the Grudges, so pick 1 unit plus 1 to wound. Prosecute wars with all haste. Once per turn, 1 KO unit can run 2d6, which is fantastic. And there's no reward without risk. Once per game, 3d6 charge from 18 inches. Or within 18 inches, rather than 12. So why are we going Barak Zon? Yeah, command points are cool, but usually I get 1 instead of 4. But we're going for Brokk Zon. Finally, he's useful. And his ability, if he charged +1 attack wholly within 12, only targets Barak Zon units, unfortunately. So he's the most use you get is from Barak Zon. That's why we play Barak Zon. We have an admiral as a general. We said he's a good pick to be a general. He's a good Galician champion. He gets 3 command points. muskets. Free shit is always good. He has the Stormcaller for the Navigator that I have in the list because that ability is just very good. It's very flexible. You can either move your ships forward in the hero phase or farther away, or you can half move enemies. And I found the most use is actually dealing D3 mortal wounds. Because if there's like a hero with 2 wounds left, or there's a unit you're stuck in combat with, yeah, if you're lucky, you roll 3 mortal wounds and that unit is dead, and you can do something else with that unit. So that's really useful. I mean, it's a 30-inch range, visible, fantastic. So the Admiral has the Celestian Burst Grenade because it's one of the better artifacts in the book. Remove a ward is super strong.
Yeah.
Once per game. On a 2-up, but yeah, that's what it used to be. Navigator has the Void Stone Orb. Again, against certain armies, it is very clutch that in the first turn you can auto-unbind 1 spell against Lumineth, against Siege, against, you know, certain armies. You just want to stop that 1 spell. So you can survive the first turn. We have Brokk, and then we have an Endrin Master with Endrin Harness. This before used to be one with dirigible suit because I have the points, but now it's just the small version with leadership of the Alpha because I want to unlock endrinriggers as battle line, so I can reinforce them twice. And speaking of as battle line, we have 9 endrinriggers, all saws and pistols or rivet guns. 2 times 10 Arcanauts and 10 Thunderers with not 2 of each weapons because I did not take the mortars.
Oh, sorry.
Because with 10, I don't think that it's worth it to have the mortars in this list. Then we have 2 frigates. Again, one is the flagship, the other one has the magnificent Omniscope. And for battalions, we have the Endrin Master with the 9 riggers in the Galician Command because there's a little trick you can do. We have the Thunderers and the Arcanauts in Sharpshooters, just to have the option to shoot someone, some hero, probably with the Thunderers. Oh, looks like we lost Kron. And then we have the Command Entourage to access the second artifact. 1950 points is pretty good to get your Inspired Triumph, which both endrinriggers or Thunderers want because they both wound on 4s. So you have one instance where you can spend a Triumph. And then with Settler Grudges, we have another unit that we can pick for a +1 to wound for your entire army. Basically, the power pairs or the idea behind this is you have 2 screens of 10 Arcanauts, which are very useful to have 2, I found, and they're not bad. Sometimes they survive. They can cap objectives, so that's what they do. We have 1 frigate with the extra move, with 9 endrinriggers, their Endrin Master, and Brokk. That's the attack boat. It charges in, and only the Endrin Master and maybe Brokk gets out, so you don't need that much space to deploy the units. They all get strike first. But you say, well, then the endrinriggers don't get strike first. No, they do, because then you activate your Endrin Master with strike first, and with the battalion, it says when you activate the hero, you can immediately afterwards activate the unit in the order of your choosing. So you choose to activate the endrinriggers. 9 endrinriggers with 1-inch saws from inside the boat all get in range if your boat is within 1 inch of the unit that you just charged. So they all get to attack with an extra attack from Brokk. So that's 28 attacks on freeze and freeze to rend D3 damage. You use the leadership of the Alpha if you need to for an all-out attack on all of these. And maybe you're hitting the unit that you grudged. So it's 28 attacks, 2s and 2s to rend D3 damage. Plus the shooting that you had before, plus the flying over, plus the bombs, plus Brock's 5 attacks, 2s and 2s, plus the Endrin Master, 2s and 2s, 1 rent, 3 damage. So you're probably going to kill what you hit. And yeah, do you need 9? Sometimes you want 9. So I killed 20 horrors with this in 1 turn. I've killed 2 units of 6 Bulgars with this. I killed 30 Besticores with this in 1 turn. It's just, you know, the big units. You can just be sure that you can remove that unit. Before there was an ironclad in the list also, but I came to the same conclusion that an ironclad is just not worth it. 500 points. I thought, oh yeah, it can go on its own with last word. It's pretty safe. You know, it can threaten from a different angle. But I did some math hammers and 10 thunderers and a frigate for 70 points more, do much more damage. So yeah, went for that, and that's where the other two heroes are. Admiral can give them an extra rend. You can use a move and then combat disembark to create a screen with the thunderers. They are a very good screen. Sometimes I wish I could have the 4-up rally on the especially in the thunderers and the endrinriggers, because if you have like 2 left. But I think probably the +1 to wound is more useful in most instances. So yeah, that's the idea. You have the attack boat, and you have a advance shoot screen boat. Let's call it that way. If you want, you can also have your thunders in front, the frigate sideways, and behind it within 1 inch your attack boat. So if whatever hits that frigate, you can heal it through the guys from the second frigate behind, and then counter attack. And so far, I had some good results, some bad results by learning the army, some bad matchups. But yeah, I think it's a good balanced list. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think for me, the question I'm having is how many riggers do you need in a boat is something that you'll never get right, because you know the matchups where if you play 6, then you're bound to have the matchups where you wish you had 9, and if you play 9, then you know you'll get the matchups where they just overkill stuff.
Yeah. What I like about the attack boat is it's not a once per game you do all this damage. Yeah. Yes, you can only once per game leadership of the alpha, and you can only once per game 3d6 charge. That's true. But if you get a double, everyone can go back inside the boat and you just do it again to the next unit. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You load in the Endrinmaster and Brokk again. The boat will run its 2d6, fly over something, do wounds, charge in, shooting and stuff. What you can also do is put the extra rend on Brokk, because he has 18-inch shooting. That's pretty decent.
It's freeze and freeze, so that's
it's freeze and freeze 2s against if you're shooting the grudged unit. So that's pretty decent. And what else did I want to say? The thing with Brokk is also you can give both ships run and shoot for a command point, whereas the Admiral can only do it once. And there's a neat trick where you can circumvent the units inside counting as having run and not being able to shoot. Basically, you get the balloons out within 3 inches in front of the ship. You run the ship. They move 12 inches and try to be within 3 inches again, and then they get back inside. They didn't run. They get to shoot, whereas the boat maybe had enough movement with the run and the 14-inch base move to tag a unit and move back to drop the bombs. But it's a bit with that many balloons. It's a hackle to set up. It's gonna take you 10 minutes to do it and pre-measure.
Yeah.
So often
because you've got to make sure you get them whole free, which is tight. So.
Yeah. So often I don't do it, and you always have the option to fly high, outside of 9, do the 3d6 charge, rollable. So you should get it. Go in and smack someone. So that's pretty. Yeah, I like it. I like the attack boat. It's a lot of eggs in one basket, but that frigate will probably survive some shooting or some magic from 9 endrinriggers healing it, and the Endrinmaster healing 3 start of your hero phase. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So looks like Kron is dead. I don't know. This like the internet is down in Australia or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
He's trying to get back. I don't know what's happening. He keeps but there was 2 of them at once. So yeah, I like the list. It's cool. I think there's there's another one. There's a see if you can no. There's an unsung sort of thing of, you know, you can we've seen in some of the lists like the fact that you can just bridge some thunderers and sort of that can replace having a boat, but it's not as good as just putting them in a boat, because you can go anywhere with a boat. You can go 24 inches with the bridge, and
and then you need a chemist and you need an artifact.
Yeah.
So but yeah, definitely. I also had lists with 15 thunderers. I think I dropped 10 arcanauts, made them 15 thunderers, because the nice thing in R, they are battle lines, so you don't need the trait. But then you only have 1 frigate, so only 1 boat. And if I'm going for rule disguise as my grand strategy, so I'd rather have 2. Because if against some armies, it's hard to win.
I don't think you should go for rule disguise if you've only got 1 boat.
Yeah, it's a risk. You could.
It's too risky.
Depends on the matchup. Sometimes they don't have flying behemoths, so. And he's gone again.
Yeah.
And then you bridge, but then you want a chemist, then you need an artifact, then you want tunnel master and a chemist. So there's a whole
there's a whole thing about it.
Follow-up.
Or the boat has to go where they bridge to and stuff. And it's
exactly.
So yeah, there's a nice simplicity about just putting the thunderers in a boat. So but yeah, cool. There was a question in the chat, which what are the bad matchups for this list?
Bad so far. I had some bad matchups. Might be the player, might be the army. I think Nighthaunt is a bit, for this list, a bit bad, because you have so much Ren 2, which is just useless. Whereas the Navigator obviously is strong against Nighthaunt because he can half move. Like at one point, I think I half moved 4 of his units, which was great. But I think it's not the best matchup. Then I played yesterday night against Sylvaneth, and it's when they have that Durfu jump through a wood, smack your screen, jump back, and next turn you can do it all again. So there's a trading game you're gonna lose if you don't commit hard and try to actually get his good stuff. Durfu whiffed, luckily, so that there was a game at one point, but overall I think it's a bad matchup. And then you get all these mortal wounds flying through trees and spells and shooting at you, and then you start losing your units. But overall, bad matchups. I don't know, maybe. But that's a generic thing for KO. I think if the opponent has too many units. Because yes, you can clear those units, you can kill them, but it's going to take you too much time to actually mop them all up. And by that time, you lost the game because you didn't score objectives. But the frigate is so good for scoring objectives because you get out on the objective, you can pile in, you actually get what you want. So I think the frigate is, and the strike first is just too good. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think our objective game has got better, and particularly if you do play the frigate. And also, what's it called? The thing to get the guy, combat landing. Because you don't have to combine that with a fly high. Like, once per game, if you've got it, you can fly high and combat land, but you can just move and then get guys out of the boat.
I actually did that with at one point the frigate. I ran it 2d6 with the command point from Yarmo, so I could re-roll the run. I got it 20 inches forward, almost onto the objective. If you get it on the objective, it's great because it counts as 5. And then I did a combat landing to get the thunderers on the objective.
Yeah.
Which
so I did
put me on objective with a hero, so it was some extra points. Yeah.
I did a cool thing against where I flew over one unit and then to drop the bombs on them, then got the heroes out the boat and then charged a different unit. And then, but everything shot the other unit. So those 2 heroes capped the other objective because I just shot everything off that one. And then I charged and did basically the the whole Galician command thing and
Yeah.
killed a different unit. So I took 2 objectives in one turn
Yeah.
by combining different things, because the combat landing doesn't stop the ship moving; it only stops the units
No.
that get out.
Yep. Exactly.
So that's cool. Okay, let's move on. Luckily, it's not Kron's list next. We've done his. So this is the one with 11 and 0 wounds, 110 wounds, because this is the list that you all waited for very patiently at the beginning. So this is there's
What
going to be
about
mistakes.
Barak
Yeah.
So I thought about 15 Thunderers, and I thought, oh yeah, wounding on 4s is super bad. So you want either settle the grudges or you want a triumph. So you want to get them on a free up, ideally, to wound. But then I thought, oh, in Thryng, if you get the prayer off, it's mortal wounds on 6s to hit, and the attack stops. So you don't care about your wound roll, and you just go that many mortal wounds as the damage characteristic of the weapon. So we have a Barak Thryng with Inspired because we're 1950 points, and why not get a +1 to wound? It's pretty good for this army. I think it's still one of the better options. Honor is everything because I want to rally 15 Thunderers on a 4-up. Prosecute wars with all haste, 3d6 charge. 2d6 run, and then there's no reward without risk, 3d6 charge, because I think those are the better amendments and footnotes. We have 2 admirals, one in the Galician command, General X Grunstock, so I can get 15 Thunderers Galician command because it's going to do the same trick with endrinriggers in a frigate that we just looked at, but this time it's only 6 endrinriggers because I don't have an endrin master. We have a second admiral because +1 rend, and he's a good Galician champion with the burst grenade. A navigator because the ability is great still, even if you can't reroll. The chemist because we want to spell in the bottle with tunnel master, and we have a ruler because we want an allied priest so we can actually use the prayer that we get. 50 benefit of the prayer. 2 units of 10 Arcanauts for battle line. We have a gun hauler with collapsible compartments because I wanted to get some method of moving heroes near where my bridge landed. 6 endrinriggers and 3 endrinriggers because with strike first, it doesn't matter if it's a unit of 9 or a unit of 6 and 3 because they'll attack more or less one after the other. So we have the 6 that can stay inside the boat, and the 3 can get out, so you can actually place the 3. So you can do the whole attack boat with 1 admiral, the 6 endrinriggers inside, the other 3 getting out, and the frigate. So that's 1 threat, that's 1 group, 1 team. We have a Galician command, sharpshooters, and command entourage. Same reasons as before. We want to get extra artifact. We lost the Void Zone orb, but we have a rune lot that can unbind and dispel with a +2. So it's similarly good. So that's okay. And we have a second unbind with the navigator. Anyway. Soul Screen Bridge for free. Awesome. So the idea here is you try to put the prayer on the 15 Thunderers. If you succeed, awesome, you send them through the bridge and shoot people with mortal wounds, while and create a kind of a beachhead with the Thunderers. Keep your boat, your attack frigate behind, and then you can counter whatever hits you with the attack boat. It's not as good and not as powerful as the one we just seen with Brokk, but it's still pretty good, I'd say. And if you don't get the prayer off, or for 8 turns, your rune is not in range. Although he can run 6, so he's a 10-inch move. The unit has to be within 16, so that's a 26 radius for the prayer. You can probably get a second turn out of him if he doesn't die. Keep him next to Arcanauts so they don't shoot him. You have the gun holder with collapsible compartments. You can stick the navigator and the second admiral in there to fly up near the Thunderers if needed. Tunnel Master, the chemist, because he needs to be outside of the boat to apply his extra rend. The admiral doesn't need to, so he can stay inside the gun holder. You have a second boat again for rule the skies. That gun holder can just sit in a corner all game to score your 3 points. I think, yeah, I have the sky cannon. You could put trail cannon, and it doesn't matter if he's sitting on the back. Or what you could do, you could split your endrinriggers and put 3 endrinriggers in the gun holder together with maybe an admiral, because when you strike first with your frigate people, you still get the first activation in your turn. So then you could activate the 3 endrinriggers elsewhere on different in a different fight. Yeah, that's the idea. I haven't played it yet, but in theory, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, a lot of these lists we're looking at are doing similar things, and it's just which combination of them, because there is the whole bridging thunderers thing. This one has an added component of giving them mortal wounds. We haven't seen the compartments thing before. This is like the first time we've shown that, but you know, the attack boat frigate is going to be a staple of many a list, isn't it?
Yeah. The nice thing about the mortal wounds is it still counts to your suppressing fire. It works. It doesn't care about minuses to hit when unleashing hell, because it's just natural 6s. So that's scary. It's even scarier to charge them. Or what you can do with a unique, I think it's the. Oh no, this 6-up ward is an enhancement. Is that prayer, or is that a universal one that everyone knows? Because the Rune Lord knows a 6-up ward prayer, but that only goes on dispossessed unit. But the generic ones are Smite and I think the Bless. And Bless is a 6-up ward. So you could put the 6-up ward on the Thunderers, I think. Because the ones you can't have, because he's an ally, is Heal, Command Points, and what's the other? And Curse. But he has a better
you don't
curse.
need curse. You have a better
So
version
yeah,
of
and
curse.
the other ones are Smite and Bless, and you could do Bless if you want.
Yeah.
If you see, okay, no one's going to charge me for, I'm just going to do a beachhead, and maybe I'll just do a 6-up ward in him. But that's on a 4-up, I think. Yeah. So yeah, find a mystical terrain for that Rune Lord and have fun applying mortal wounds to your units. You could even do it on Arcanauts if you run out of Thunders, or they are not in range. Then you put it on Arcanauts, stick the Arcanauts somewhere and shoot people. It's just you just need number of attacks. You don't need to wound or rend or nothing for mortal wounds.
Yeah, I guess in Thryng you could make a case for 20 Arcanauts and an Ironclad, and you give them the ability then fly high and then combat.
Yes, and you need the. But that's again, it's a once per game thing, because then you can only do that once, fly and jump out, and you need that. Now it's 9, and it's very restrictive, because before it was great within 6, but now it's within 3, wholly within 3. So still with 9-inch weapons, most like the second row and third row will just reach a screen. That's why I like Thunderers more, because they have 12-inch reach and 18-inch reach. I mean, 3 cannon shots, roll a 6, it's 3 mortal wounds. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And if not, it's a 4 rend shot. It's basically on a 2 to wound, 4 rend. It's basically a mortal wound anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the list.
Cool. Let's just want to bring up a question from the chat. I think it was from the previous list, but I think it's basically relevant for any list with Thunderers, which is basically what they said. What's the map about no mortars? So because you said you didn't have mortars in the previous list, but I think there's a whole question about the loadout on Thunderers. So
in the previous list, they're sharpshooters and their role is do damage, but often I'm not going to shoot multi-model units, so the mortar has less effect. Whereas for mortal wounds, you're going to go for maximum of attacks to roll more 6s, and you don't care about them not having rend the mortar shots. Especially that's why also the there's a question about the fumigators though, because they auto hit. So are they auto hitting
Mhm.
on 6s, or what are they auto hitting on?
Well, you don't actually roll for them, do you? So they just wouldn't get the
Yeah, that's
ability.
a shame. So maybe you could
Not have
make an argument for
fumigators
not
in
having
this.
fumigators in that one. Yeah. Although they are great for Unleash Him.
Yeah,
Because you auto hit.
yeah, because they auto hit, and then they do mortal wounds at the end of the combat phase as well.
Yes.
I think there's also a debate with Thunderers about whether you only go for 18-inch weapons. You still take the Aether cannons because they're just really good.
But you
and they're 18
I
inches.
take the deck sweepers because it's just it's 3 more shots.
It depends
a rifle.
on how you're using them. I found so far I've used them in a way where I've been quite conservative with them, and then in those games it would have benefited having them have the longer range guns. However, I think realistically the better way to play them is just to use them almost as bait and just not be so conservative with them and have more shots. So
yeah, and you don't forget if we're talking about 15 in a ship or 10 in a ship, they essentially get the ship's movement on top on their threat range. So and we're not, before we were always thinking 9-inch away because I'm always flying high in my ships.
Yeah.
More often not, now I'm not flying high. I'm moving the ship. So you have a unit with a 22-inch threat range, or if it's a frigate, a 24-inch threat range with the 12-inch weapon. So that's pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then you can still get out. So add another 2 or 3 inches if you want. On top of that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move on then to the last list, which is my most recent list, because like I started with an ironclad and I did the same thing everyone else did, which was I was like, well, let's take the ironclad out. That was a running theme of our conversations.
Points, yeah.
Was like, yes, it's like everyone said, "Oh, I changed my list. What did you do?" I took the ironclad out.
Yeah. Sadly.
So this is Barak Zon, 2,000 points on the nose, so there's not really any wiggle room on it, but there is some wiggle room. We'll discuss that in a minute. It's all the drops because I basically wanted to get Soul Screen Bridge and have the Celestial Burst Grenade. So it has an Admiral as the General with a Scholar and an Archanaut with leadership of the Alpha as well, because by putting it on your General, you get extra range on that leadership of the Alpha. Looks like Kron is actually here properly now. Hi, Kron.
I'm back.
You're back. You missed the whole list.
Oh, okay.
You missed a Barak Thryng list. But cool. So I'm literally just going through my Barak Zon list. So you had the Admiral as the General, then a Navigator because that Navigator ability is really good. Brokk Grunson, basically for the same reason as we discussed in some of these other lists, that +1 attack ability is really good. An Aether Chemist with Spell in a Bottle, because we need the Soul Screen Bridge, and then a Dirigible Suit Endrin Master, because this list needs an Endrin Master to make endrinriggers battle line, and there was points available to make it a Dirigible Suit. So why not? And he has the Celestial Burst Grenade just because I didn't want to put everything on the Admiral, because it makes the Admiral a big target, and he's not as tanky as he used to be.
Yes.
And there's 8 wounds on that Endrin Master of Dirigible Suit, so that's helpful. So basically, if you think about some of the things we've talked about, the Soul Screen Bridge with Thunderers, the Galician Command and Frigate attack boat type thing, I was like, I want to do both of those. So this is how I did it. So the rest of the list is 10 Grandstock Thunderers with 2 of each weapon, 2 units of 6 endrinriggers, and then a unit of Archonauts as a screen, because you need to have a screen. It would be nice to have 2 screens, but there isn't points to allow it, unfortunately, and downgrading the Dirigible Suit wouldn't give enough. So that's that. And there's a frigate, which is the flagship, and a gun hauler with Colbert's collapsible compartments, but for a different sort of purpose from Max's list a minute ago. And there's Collision Command, Collision Sharpshooters, Command Entourage. So it's one of the units of 6 riggers in Collision Command and the dirigible suit. Because, he's just a fighty hero, so why not him? So the pairings in this are the Thunderers aren't in any boat. They get bridged. The Galician Command endrinriggers and basically all the heroes are in the frigate, but they don't have it. And then the final unit of 6 riggers is in the gun hauler. So the concept is you bridge the Thunderers, you shoot a bunch of stuff, and then you move both boats and you charge a bunch of stuff. And because of the way Galician Command works, all of the stuff in the frigate will start at fire at the start of the hero phase, and then your first pick is not the hero phase, so start of the combat phase. Sorry, they have strike first, and then your first pick in the middle part of the combat phase, because you pick first, will be the endrinriggers in the gun hauler to take out a second threat. Which
moved with full ahead, so 18
yes, because it can head full to move 18 inches and charge. So that's nice.
You've got these threats in this one, so you can attack. You can do the attack from 3 angles thing.
You can, but if you want the best effect of it, that gun hauler is still going to charge wholly within 12 of Brokk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that Thunderers are either going to be without extra rend, because
they need to be near the frigate.
Cannot deliver the Admiral or the Chemist, or they need to be next to the frigate. Yeah.
Because you're not taking.
You basically do the same.
You're not taking the 36 charge, are you? You're taking the double command one.
Because we have both as a typo, but
okay, yeah.
Because you have Scott on Arcanine, so you can you can 3d6 charge and do a combat landing and fly high.
So you can combat landing the Chemist out of the
so you can fly in the frigate near to them, jump out Admiral and Chemist, continue charging with the frigate and the gun hauler, while these other 2 stay with the Thunderers and shot off your screen or whatever.
Yes, although I think so in theory you can Alpha Strike with this, but I think the better way to play is you kind of use the Thunderers in the same way that you pretty much described with the Thryng list, where you bridge the Thunderers and you have your frigate behind it and the gun hauler behind, ready to sort of counter strike whatever goes into the Thunderers.
Yep.
Because one thing you can do with, I think we sort of vaguely mentioned it before, but that attack boat with the frigate in is also very shooty.
Yes,
it can do a lot of shots. So realistically, what it can do is shoot off a unit and then charge a different unit. And
100%.
You don't want to be shooting off the unit that you want to charge after flying
18
high,
shots from those riggers,
because you very quickly a 9-inch charge becomes a 10 or 11-inch charge, which is not possible to do. So it's a potential to Alpha Strike, but really it doesn't want to. I think. So one of the things I'm not sure about with this list is actually the configuration of the endrinriggers and whether it's better to go with 9, because then you'd have a 9 and a 3. You could still have 3 in the gun hauler, but it means that gun hauler is actually a little bit of a more of a
it's not going to do much. Like 3 not going to do that much.
It's because your high drops, it's quite often you will get made to go first, but because it can Alpha Strike in some ways, that's not necessarily bad, especially if you explain to your opponent how well you can Alpha Strike. But in sometimes you really just want to be able to put something somewhere just to take an objective and it's going to die. And so if it's just a gun hauler with 3 riggers in it, that's not so bad. Or just a gun hauler on its own. But one thing you can do is if you have a unit of just 3 riggers, is you can then fit some heroes in the gun hauler, because I found when playing this that it was annoying not being able to use commands on the gun hauler, because it can issue the Iron Sky commands, but none of the others, which is annoying. So you can't redeploy, can't do anything, barely, can't all out defense. So that's a shame. And because what you could do then is you could bridge the Thunderers, move your attack boat and the gun hauler up afterwards. The gun hauler would transport the Admiral and the Navigator. Not the Navigator, the Chemist, sorry.
Admiral and the Chemist.
So that way your threats are split up more, because you don't have to have the frigate near the 10 Thunderers. And then after they've transported and the Thunderers, you can potentially use that gun hauler as a battle tactic piece. You could put the Admiral back in, and with the riggers, you can go and do desecrate the lands, get 2 units out in enemy territory, and it's such a small little thing that your opponents aren't going to go for it, and it's just going to keep racking up all those points on battle tactics. Why the rest of your list actually just tables your opponent, because that's the thing we do now. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys?
I mean, it's very similar to what we've seen before.
Yes.
You just apply the Thunders differently through a bridge, and you have more mobility because you have 2 boats on the bridge, but less attacks with endrinriggers. And you only have 1 screen of Arcanauts, so in some matches it might be a bit difficult, but I think having both footnotes is pretty strong. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's similar
in this kind of build. Yeah,
it's similar to my concept. I think it's this combo shooting combat list that has 3 threats that you can attack 3 different spots, and you can so your opponent can't just like screen out this one area. You can come in from sides and hit it in multiple areas. And if it's a if it's a list that that's like Ideneth or kits that is mostly okay against shooting, you can still come in and hit them. Or if it's a army that you want to stay out of combat with, you can. Even the shooting units have that firepower to just sit at that 12 inches and just put shots into it.
Yeah.
You can basically choose your strategy when you hit the table, no matter who. It's flexible. I like flexible.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the one of the cases where it's not flexible is that the fact the frigate has to go where the Thunder is bridged to, which is one of the drawbacks of using the bridge. So I don't know, but I've tried to make it efficient by only having a frigate and a gun hauler, and then maximizing the use of the capacity. But I don't know, maybe after playing it a bit more, or just default to actually just 2 frigates is just better, and just having less stuff.
I mean, 2 frigates is 30 wounds and a 3-up save. It's pretty tanky. It's 15 it's 15 Thunderers, but they heal it heals itself because of all the riggers inside of it.
So one thing that I wondered about as well, because Cron, you mentioned you were disappointed with Brokk.
Yeah, I don't know if the riggers need Brokk, and he's worth 220 points. You could just turn Brokk into more riggers, and it'll pretty much be better.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, you can't get the riggers out.
Alone is so good.
His shooting is good.
His shooting's really good.
Like, I have good shooting at 18 inches, which is better than a frigate because most of it is 12 inches.
Yeah. I mean, 18-inch carbines is really nice.
18-inch carbines and 18-inch 18-inch ironclad cannon shot that hits on freeze wounds and 2s is pretty good.
But he's,
Yeah,
I don't know. But he so being Brokk, you want to put him into combat so you can get the warden he can get the extra attack thing to go off.
hmm
And then when he gets into combat, he is kind of a bit shit, and the admiral is better.
But he doesn't need to. The endring is going to kill this stuff. He just
Yeah,
needs to
I mean,
charge.
he
He's
does
just
5
he
attacks, so
just needs to charge.
he's almost the equivalent of a unit of endrinriggers, but then he has the shooting of a boat almost as
Yeah,
well.
5 attacks plus the mortal wounds, plus his shooting, plus he can give
I forgot it's more
command
wounds.
ability. Wholly
much.
within 18 because he's a war
Didn't
master.
matter. I killed everything anyway.
So in Barak Zon, he's a war master, so he can issue commands wholly within 18. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
He can do his run and shoot on 3 ships instead of just 1, which is also super good.
Which is also
Yeah, but
possibly
you
a
almost-
reason to, you know.
So he
just
has so
take
much
2 frigates.
uses, and he's 8 wounds on a 3-up save. So
But
he's tanky.
if he issues the run and shoot, then no one in the boat's shooting. So Brock's not shooting, and
yeah, because you missed the trick. You were absent when I explained
I was.
the high competitive expert play that hasn't reached Australia apparently.
What's
Well,
what's
you get
this
your balloons out in front of the ship. You run the ship. The balloons follow up. Normal move. Get back in. They didn't run. They can shoot.
Oh.
And you gain the length of the ship in range with them.
Yeah.
Or you use it to fly over someone with the ship, get back in front of 3 inches. They follow, get back inside, have the reach, and you did your bombs. And you run. And it's especially good if you need to get somewhere and you want to use the 2d6 run, which often can be worse than just issuing auto 6 because you can roll a 3 or 4. But they get a reroll on the run with that command ability. So that's pretty good.
That is pretty
good. Rerollable 2d6 run is pretty good.
Yeah,
but then it'll probably move too far for the riggers, right?
Yeah, you need to. It depends what you want to do. If you want to just do the fly over the hero and back, and the hero that's in the middle of the unit to just drop the bombs on him.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. It's a workaround. It's not ideal, and with 9 riggers and Brokk and the hero, it's a lot of pre-measurement. Can I actually get them in there? And often I didn't bother because then I'm gonna delete them anyway. I don't need to shoot them, but it's a option you have.
it is. Yeah. It's tricksy. It's very tricky. I like it.
Yeah, it's a tricksy army now.
Yeah.
You want to know? You want to know another tricksy trick?
Always.
So, in your hero phase, you use a navigator move to move your frigate 4 to 6 inches next to a damned terrain. Then you deal yourself D3 mortal wounds that you don't care about because it's going to heal them anyway. You get +1 to hit. You didn't move in a movement phase and you didn't use the fly high. So you can use the Admiral's ability to get +1 missile attack. And now you have 3 of the single shots hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, 2 ren, D3 +2 damage.
Yeah.
So that's a good first turn thing. So often I look for the
and of course you heal up any of the damage done by down terrain as well.
That's why you don't care about that damage
immediately. Yeah,
heal up immediately. And if you're playing more defensively in the first turn, you and they're like, what's your range? It's like 24. And they measure that, but you actually 24 plus 3 plus D3.
Yeah,
I mean, you need to set it up, but I've done it like 2 or 3 games now. It's
okay.
It can clear a screen, just those 3 shots. If you roll good.
Yeah. If you actually
like
hit
9 to 15 damage you can do.
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess. So
6. Oh yeah, 9.
Yeah, because it's +2.
To bring the conversation into a more generic conversation about this building. So some of the considerations I'm having is drop count. Because you either end up going high drop and you command entourage, sharpshooters, collision command, Galician Command is actually really good for KO at the moment. It'll be interesting
Yes.
to see if that goes away in the next GHB.
Yeah, then I might swap to Sky Wardens because of the 2-inch reach.
Yes. So there's that, because one of the things about drop count as well is if you get made to go first, what do you do? And
you score. Oh, if you here's
Yeah.
another trick from the high competitive scene, Kron. To take out your notepad. Stake a claim. It's an old Fire Slayer trick because
okay,
there's
yes. Deploy
same.
not on
They
your
have
objectives.
do not deploy on your own objective.
Mhm.
If you have a feeling they're gonna make you go first, you pick that battle tactic. You move onto your home objective and you just tag another one in the middle with Arcanauts. You have 2. He has 1. Battle tactic concluded. You have 1 to 1.
Easy, yeah.
It's the same that you can. Fire Slayers have the same. It's worded differently, but it's the same idea. So that's what they often do is they do not deploy on their home objective to score that one first turn.
But if
the
you're
interesting thing about that one as well is in Prize of Galay, you can do that because you only have to control the objective. It doesn't have to be active either. So you can just, doesn't matter that objective's not active.
Yes.
Yes. Which is fun.
But if you're using that, then you're pretty much saying you can't achieve. You're not going to be able to get opening salvo at any point during the game.
That opening salvo is where I was going with.
Opening salvo requires a unit to be destroyed.
Yes.
Often it's hard for your opponent unless he has a super alpha or something built or a lot of damage. Often they'll do you'll lose 6 or 7 Arcanauts, but you didn't destroy a unit.
Oh no,
Like
you have to destroy one of their units, don't you?
Yes, I think that's the issue.
No, no, but you cannot choose this if any units have been destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So losing models from units doesn't stop you from doing that turn 2.
Yeah.
No, but that means he hasn't lost any. That means you haven't killed any of his units either.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
The issue with opening salvo is if you don't want to commit too much too soon, like because they give your high drops, they make you go first, and you're like, they brought a big castle because they know they're going to make you go first, and you're like, okay, well, do I just want to park up in front of your army? And
no, then you do what I just explained. You have 1 frigate with 3 shots and 1 frigate with 2 shots. You just move them a bit forward inside your
also where
and you shoot
one of the reasons why you want 2 boats, because I don't think with 1 boat you can reliably always kill a unit.
Although the frigates are not like the shooting from frigates is not really killing stuff. I found it's 9 carbine shots basically.
No, but it's one of the that's also one of the problems with the Ironclad. It's like if you take the Ironclad, it's like, can you really then afford another boat? And then it's like, even though its shooting is better,
no, Ironclad
the
still
torpedoes aren't good
it's
enough.
not good enough. It's
it's too risky to try that battle tactic with it.
Without the sun, the boats do suffer from losing the sun and not being Ven 2 anymore.
Yeah, but the frigate just gains so much for the strike first. It's just so much better, and the bombs. And the thing is also with opening salvo, the unit needs to be destroyed in the shooting phase. It doesn't mean you cannot apply damage before. So a navigator can do D3 mortal wounds. You fly over can do bombs. And then there's maybe if you don't exaggerate with bombs, there's like 2 wounds left and you just shoot them with something. And you've done it. So it's battle tactics overall are pretty good.
Yeah, it's the first turn one. All the other turns are easy, and it's the first turn is depends on how much you want to complete.
Depends where they did deployed. Do a cunning maneuver. There's plenty of options.
It feeds into the conversation about drop count, because I feel like often we're probably still better off making your opponents go first and controlling the turn.
So a double turn 4 KO, no matter what list, is deadly still, because you have the power projection that you can apply 2 turns of like maximum output. As I said, get everyone back inside in the boat and do it again, and that's then you killed 2 major things in his army. That's probably crippling. But I don't mind so much because we have screens, we have the movement. Yeah, if they get a double, it's bad, but it depends against what.
How
Not
important
whole
is it
armies.
to be low drops to try and make sure you get to go second instead of having to go first again?
I think going low drops loses too much good stuff.
Because
It
it's
loses you
surprisingly
artifacts, it
difficult to
loses
get one
you-
drop, isn't it? Unless you go Zilfin.
Yeah, or just the second boat is a gun hauler.
Yeah.
But even then, you have problems with heroes and
And
Yeah,
then you're facing the other one drop army, and you lose a roll off. And then you don't have a Voidstone Orb against the Lumineth Castle, which is a one drop. You don't have it against the Zinj, which can be a one drop. So it's just I'd rather be 10, and if he makes me go first, I can delete his one big toy, unless he can screen it really good. So yeah.
So
I don't
James in the
mind.
chat
Personally,
says,
I don't mind. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, Zilfin, Iron Cannon figure. If you Zilfin makes
Zilfin, but
one
then
drop a lot easier. That is, I think, is the place of Zilfin now.
it's the
is that
only
you can get one
reason
drop.
why Zilfin is still printed in that book.
Any other important or generic considerations for you guys?
Has any one of you thought about allies at all since the new book?
A little bit.
A little, yeah. Thinking of Thryng.
For instance,
the Rune Lord, in Thryng. But other than that,
no.
because
So for
before
instance,
list building was 2 dragons or a prime or an incarnate.
This
I don't
Zon
care.
list, when I was writing this earlier to prepare for the show, very nearly had 2 Knight Zephyros's in it.
Yeah, Knight Zephyros for Galician champions, but
or a Knight Incanter and a Zephyros. A Knight Incanter, I think, is a very good ally because it's Forgestone Orb,
Auto Unbind,
Mystic Shield on your Thunderers before you bridge them.
Yeah, but before with the old book, I was always playing around with especially Stormcast allies. Do I want 2 dragons? Maybe I want this or that. And with the new book, I don't care. There's too much good chaos stuff I want to include. I almost don't have any list. I have a Rune Lord and one because I want the prayer.
Yeah.
Any lists with Gotrek?
No, not yet. But
I didn't think of one.
You could do, because you could just bridge your Thunderers forwards and run Gotrek up behind them, and then if you go near those Thunderers, then you're going to get charged by Gotrek.
But that means he needs to get around the Thunderers. It's another.
No, because they will wrap around when they charge them and stuff. It's you don't bridge your Thunderers into a. And you could also put the bridge in front of the Thunderers when you bridge them, so they have to go to either side of the Thunderers, and then he just goes to whichever side they go
bridge
to.
As a wall. Mechanism. I use the bridge as a wall a bit.
Regiment of Renown?
I think there's an FAQ question with Regiment of Renown with Thryng, because he's a unique hero.
Okay.
And so whether he gets that prayer or not.
So Worlds has said yes.
Okay.
I don't know about
there is the general question of, hey, technically Thryng doesn't work on anyone because you can't give enhancements to allies, and it's technically kind of like an enhancement.
Yeah,
but
we all know how it's supposed to
allied
work. Yes.
Yeah, like what are you? What are you taking a KO priest?
Yeah. So I don't know. Generally speaking, for allies, if you think about some of the ones we were using before, like dragons,
Prime, dragons.
Prime. I think Prime still has good play because he does the same as the attack boat. He can deep strike anywhere, auto charge 12 and do damage.
I mean, dragons might be.
But he can whiff quite easily. Is the problem, and he's a lot of points. He's more points than Brokk, and you think what Brokk does in a list.
Yes, he does more damage than Brokk.
Yeah, he does, because he's got
does
damage.
He though? I mean, I had him fail to kill 2 chameleon skinks, so.
Flat damage 3. Brokk is not. Brokk should be flat damage 3. That's an FAQ.
Or even 2. Even 2 should be fine.
Brokk basically has 5 attacks start, which is more than the thingy.
Oh,
at the beginning of the
doesn't
game.
the thing get 5 attacks if
He
it
gets-
stays up for 1 turn?
Yeah, it has to. So
Yeah,
a
it
turn
does.
2 will have 5 attacks.
But the thing with the Prime is, again, the multiple wound shooting. Combine it with the Navigator, you could kill a hero with that.
Yeah,
2d3,
that's a good
Yeah.
point.
2d3 multiple wounds.
hmm
I mean, he does it to everyone in an aura. So yeah.
hmm that's a
He
good point.
is good. He would also benefit from a leadership of the Alpha.
He
Mhm.
costs
Yeah,
the same as a
+1.
frigate, doesn't he?
Okay.
300?
Yeah.
330 now.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of
So
money.
yes, he is expensive. So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't have that many points over. I have like maybe
Mhm.
sometimes 150 over. So
Mhm.
some small stuff. There was a question in chat about Thryng with Fire Slayer priests. My issue with the Fire Slayer priests is, yes, one of them can tunnel, so it's a Galician champion with movement, but then he can do the prayer in the hero phase because he's in reserve. And all their own prayers are only targeting Fire Slayers. So I think the Rune Lord is just better because it gets Unbind Dispel with +2,
Yeah.
which is universally better than some synergy with Fire Slayers that you might not have in your list.
Rune Lord is 100 points, isn't he?
Yes.
He's also
Yeah.
cheaper than every Fire Slayer's priest.
Because I think there was a list I was looking at where I wanted to add a Knight Incanter, and I didn't have that 20 points. I had 100 points, so I guess a Rune Lord could be a budget in Knight Allied Incanter if you don't have those extra 20 points.
Yeah, I mean,
as well,
+2.
just
Stick
in-
him next to an
yeah.
arcane terrain, and it's +3.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So generally speaking, like a Rune Lord, a Knight Incanter, are good allies. Dragons, I feel like because we have decent melee units now ourselves,
Yeah.
you don't.
There's no
really
need for a melee brawler. Yes, they count as 10 on objectives, but the frigate itself already counts as 5. So
Mhm.
no.
No.
The shooting, yeah, multiple shooting is great, but they come with it's very spiky.
Yeah. Gotrek maybe, but I think you kind of then end up building around him a little bit. Or
Definitely.
I mean, he is at least he's a thing that he can just go off and do his own thing and deny an area of the board, which it's always been a good thing about him. And then there's techie pieces like Knight Zephyros's, which they're good now. They might not be good in June or when the new GHB comes out.
Oh, but that's true for the Galician command as well.
Yeah, the Galician command. Potentially get away, but you know, you don't have to
Fine.
spend money and time building and painting for the Galician command. Like you don't have to buy the heroes, and you know.
Question in chat. Kronspine, not since it went up to, was it 485 points?
No, it's a
For an
cost
80?
of an ironclad nearly. So, it's a lot.
Again, it was a threat, a melee threat that you can stick into your opponent. The
Mhm.
problem is if it's anywhere near your attack boat, you cannot retreat yourself if you're in the aura.
Yeah, don't use it with Sky Wardens. Yeah.
So no, it's too expensive.
So, I guess with Cities of Sigma changing soon, that might
Definitely
throw up some
changing. That
stuff.
might open up some interesting things. Depends if they get any other priests.
Mhm.
From what I heard, the dispossessed will more or less stay the same.
Mhm.
And they're
It
going
does
to
seem
drop
like
some
it's
of the
human-focused.
elves, and all the new kits are human or ogre mercenaries. Is one rumor I heard. And sadly, our book still says allies, Cities of Sigmar, Dwardian only.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is, I hate it.
Mhm.
I want a battle mage. I want a +2 to run in charge on my boat.
Yeah.
or Skywinds.
+2 to run in charge would be really good.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Why can a stupid Durfu get like +5 on his charge, but
yeah.
I cannot? Like, what is that? What is that spellcaster doing in the woods?
Mhm. Cool. Someone asked about Gotrek, but we kind of already discussed him.
Gotrek.
He's Gotrek. He's good.
Gotrek. But play him if you want to play him.
Yeah.
But people know how to play around him. And
I
a Gotrek does not like a Celestian Burst Grenade, I can tell you.
Yeah. I haven't had the pleasure yet. But...
Or Quicksilver Swords.
No.
The same.
no.
Oh. So, yeah. Endless spells other than Soulscream Bridge.
Ravak's Gnashing Jaws.
There's a lot
Half
of
move
it,
something,
yeah.
and then Horrorghast maybe.
Horrorghast is pretty good.
Still a
Horrorghast
place
if
for
you're
Purple
playing
Sun.
Gits.
If you don't want to stack loads of heroes, you do this whole thing about you need to get heroes out next to, your Thunderers are.
But now you need to deliver the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So-
can. There's ways to do it. Navigator move and the Fleet Master, but you need to play around it. Horrorghast is a very good spell, especially if he's for free. Then it's a fantastic thing to have.
But it does land.
yeah.
It does go back and hit you, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure it does. But
Geminids could be a play because it stops them receiving commands, so it's like being Mhornar, but
the range is pretty small, isn't it?
I think it's like the initial time you use it, because I think it has like an 18-inch range, and then they move 8, possibly.
Not much.
Hang on, I think it is, but
because no one's using Geminids anymore.
maybe
So
it dropped in the last GHP. But that's the thing, is the endless spells could all change in the GHP.
Yeah. The problem with many of these spells is also that they're dispelled on pretty low values, like on 6s or 7s. So.
Oh, it's just 8 and 8. So a range of 8, and then they can move 8. So 16 total for Geminids. It's not really far enough.
No.
No.
Yeah, shame we lost the faction ones.
So yeah, I think the bridge is probably the best one at the moment. And there's fun things you can do, convert it up and stuff. So.
Yeah, and it's free.
Making it free.
It's so good how to.
We're playing with 2,060 point lists, basically.
Yeah, I'm surprised they kind of made it free, but cool.
But restricting it down to
the same as the goblins, the loon skin.
Okay. So one last question, I think, for you guys is, what thing are you not putting into your lists that you really wish you could, but something else is always stopping you from taking it? Like a command trait.
15 thunders instead of 10.
There's always space for 15 thunders.
5 more thunderers. Yeah, 2 articles. I want 2 articles, but then I need to play Urbaz. And then I lose the whole Gnar, which is very annoying.
Might be good for my for the Mhornar list. One of the Mhornar lists. Make it
I think your Mhornar list is better in Urbaz. Yeah.
I'll give it a try for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there is a case to be made, I think, for just taking the +1 to wound rather than the rally, because I feel like often for the time you end up using the rally, unless it's against shooting, like against combat, by the time you use the rally, the game it's over. It doesn't matter, because you've either survived the combat anyway and shot them off, and by that point you've killed everything else anyway. You're rallying on like turn 4 when your opponent's got nothing left. But it's really good against enemy shooting armies. And magic.
We've done Upsal Thunderers and Upsal Balloons. I still want to do an Upsal Boats list.
Okay.
How many cannon shots can we get? Can we actually get at 24 inches?
I think you can get like 11 gun haulers and a 9 Lord Alternator. I done the math. It's not as good as it sounds. I did look at that. Just like what happens if you go Urbaz.
If you go 11 gunners, I'd rather go drill cannons.
Yeah.
What about
Is it
shooty
unmodified
balloons?
5 to hit?
Shooty balloons.
Are
Not
door
sure.
cannons unmodified 5
Because
to
they're only
hit?
yes,
Yes.
unmodified 5s.
The same as before.
Okay.
90 Arcanauts for 4+ rounding.
Oops, no. Yeah, the opposite of oops, all boats. Oops, no boats.
90 Arcanauts. I think the trouble is with Arcanauts now is they don't have gold to make themselves battle shock immune.
Yes.
So they will be running away very quickly.
Although I found their +1 to hit against contesting units is easier than being holy within 9.
Okay.
It's I actually like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, balloons with long range weapons.
The thing is, they're not that long range. They're 15 inches.
Yes, that's about 12-inch move plus grapnel once per game. So
Yeah.
another 15,
Although-
another 18-inch if you want.
I'm loving 2d6 shots on volley guns. Man,
On
that's
Arcanaut,
clever.
Arcanaut volley guns, not on the
Yeah.
volley guns from the endrinriggers, because they're pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're too squishy, too expensive. I thought about like 6 of them maybe being sharpshooters in your backfield with a grapnel, so you can get them where you need. But the thing also I found with grapnel, the idea seems cool. I can zip this unit over here to create a screen. But it's not really a screen because everyone has to be wholly within 3 inches. It's more like a ball. It's a ball of balloons. So that's pretty stupid actually, and hard.
And
to
3
set
inches
up.
is not that big.
It's not a lot. If the terrain is like a wall or a house, it's just half.
Well, it's not 3
circle,
inches of the terrain piece. It's 3 inches of the point you choose on the terrain piece. So even if it's a massive terrain piece, you pick a point, and it's 3 inches from that point. So
yes,
it's always a 6
But
inch
if it's an impassable house,
oh, I see what you mean.
the
Yeah.
wall, and then I
Yes,
get
you can't
like
deploy on that
half
space.
a circle.
Yeah. Yes, you get
So it's not.
semicircle.
It's
Okay.
like they're all smushed against the terrain piece.
Yes, and the base size being like 1 1/4 inches means you can only ever get 2 ranks.
Yeah,
in
so
that
it's
case.
sometimes it's a bit limiting where you can actually put them. Because I thought, yeah, I can use this to get on an objective, so I can use this to screen a boat, but actually you can't. It's hard to do, hard to use, but it's a fun thing.
One thing I'm thinking maybe we are potentially overlooking is just 20 Arcanauts in a Ironclad.
As I said, 9-inch range is my issue with them.
Yeah.
I think because that's the only way potentially then you make the Ironclad worthwhile, because it has the capacity for 20 Arcanauts, but 20 Arcanauts are cheap enough that you could then fit something else in the list.
Do Arcanauts get +1 to hit when they're inside a boat?
What with the thing they're shooting at?
Yes.
I don't know, to be honest, off the top of my head, because it used to be always had to get out of the boat. But...
Yes, that's why I'm asking.
Who can read the quickest?
Who can find the page?
Not embarked.
Oh, what? No. Wireless unit is not embarked.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Yeah, so it's not like it used to be before, where you used to teleport the boat and then they got out 6 inches, so they could be 3 inches away from the screen. Now they have to be 6 inches away from the screen. So they're just further away.
That's what we said. It's just not worth it. Even with Thryng Prayer, it's not worth it.
And you can't. I mean, you can give them +2 then, but you can't give them the rerolls and the 3s and 3s. And
no, they're just. I'd rather spend much more points on Thunders. Because I think with a free up save, they're actually worth it now, the Thunders.
One other thing from the chat is MSU Thunders. You get extra shots from the leader, and assuming fumigators are ruled that way.
Well, you can only +1 to wound 1 unit.
Yeah.
And the fumigator, as I read it, only works once.
Yeah. But if you have MSU, then it's per unit still.
MSU Thunderers then use Grudge Bearer. Get
then all
4
the
cannons.
Thunderers.
Get 4 cannons and 4 sergeants in a boat and just Pop.
Oof, I don't know.
You weren't allowed to attack all of them, but
That's
they hit on 3s already.
no, and you cannot rally
Look-
all of them.
No.
No.
No, I'd
They-
rather have
they-
one unit.
I guess there's also an MSU question about Sky Wardens as well. Because if you deliver them with a frigate, they all get to fight first, and
For
then
balloons, I don't mind because they get extra attacks from the leader.
yeah, and with Sky Wardens
And
you get
you get
more time
more-
charges if you survive.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
get more retreat and blow up kind of stuff happening.
And you can retreat 6 out, like 2 units of 3, and leave 1 unit of 3 in, so they're locked in combat still. Although they'll probably end up dying. But
Yeah, usually did.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Have we figured out what the ruling behind use time charges in a boat is? Do you just do D3 mortal wounds and then don't retreat?
yes,
I
that's
think
how I or the people I talk to say. You do the mortal wounds first,
Mhm.
then you would say you must retreat, but you cannot, so you don't.
Mhm.
So you just stuck there
Yeah.
and you just go, okay.
You're stuck in a
D3
boat, but
mortal wounds.
you at least do the mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Whereas
I-
you can grapnel out of the boat apparently, which I
Yes,
still
I would-
find weird.
Pre-warned that obviously quite a few people are sort of would be against that. That I've seen a lot of people saying no, it doesn't work. Like you can't retreat, so therefore you can't use the ability.
There's still a lot of open questions for KO.
Yes.
We'll see if they.
Well,
answer
I
them.
think the FAQ will be either long or very short and very disappointing.
I mean,
Uh,
I've heard that might be coming out at the same time as the battle scroll update. Like we're not
Mhm.
getting points changes, but we're getting at least the FAQ dropping at the
Would
same
make
time.
sense. Yeah.
And the battle
Yeah.
scroll is soon, so
yes, should be in April.
What we
so-
think? April,
early April.
the week
Okay.
week after next, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I think more or less we covered
Yeah, more
basic
than we've done.
synergies.
Mhm.
But let us know what you viewers have come up with list-wise or tricks
This is
that you
still
found. Put them in the
Wild
comments.
West. Everyone's
Yeah.
doing their own thing. If you have a cool strategy, we definitely.
Oh,
would do
but
it.
it's the exciting time. You get to test out and try and find your own little combo.
Yeah, the things that suit you and the way you play and stuff will always take a while to
Actually-
come out because you need to play with the army a bit.
You need to
one
figure out
thing-
your list.
I always want to put into a list, but never find the artifact space for is Phosphex bomblets.
Phosphorus
I know
bombers.
they're not-
Yeah.
They're very like it's never your first choice because they're so unreliable. But that time when they're reliable, so good.
But you can blow up, and it works against Galician champions.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a
It's not a
shooting.
shooting.
Attack. It's just an
You
ability
can
that just
run someone there and then just do it.
Mm.
You can blow up.
I think the one thing for me that I want, but I'm not putting in this, is Stormcaller, because I'm always pretty much going for Scholar and an Archanaut and sort of building around it. So, but Stormcaller would be very good.
It is. It is.
It's
very
very
good.
good.
It is, I can tell you. It is 6 dice, re-rollable, and then you can still choose do I want to move boats or not.
I think I've only once used the navigator and not rolled any 1s or 6s, so it's done nothing. Only once so far.
I had it twice on the re-roll. No 6s, no 1s.
Oh,
So I was like, oh,
God.
okay. Anyway, next. Okay, that's my hero phase. Next.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Yeah. So I hope people liked the show and enjoyed it. If you did, hit like, subscribe for more KO and Age of Sigmar content in the future. Let us know in the comments what you think about some of the lists we've shown and what you're thinking about doing with your own armies. And yeah,
Yep.
we'll see you again soon, everyone. And thanks, of course.
Win tournaments so we can talk about your lists.
Yes.
Yeah. Still haven't had a. We need to. We're still waiting for the first KO 5-0.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened
It's
yet.
gonna be
It's
some
gonna-
wonky thing where the TO
It won't look anything
ruled
like any of the
weird
lists we've shown.
FAQs, yeah.
Cool. But thanks for
Alright.
watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I can't find my mouse. It's fine, man. Oh, it's turned itself off. There we go.